Hello and welcome to the Empowering Family Caregivers Show. I am your host, Susan Baida, and also the co-founder of eCareDiary.com, which is bringing this show to you today. It's Friday, June 10th, and we're talking about fitness for seniors as well as caregivers, and we have a special guest, Jae Gruenke, and she's going to talk to us today about these methods in which to help seniors, get out of their chairs and, be more fit. And I don't think it's ever too, you're ever too old to I think, find ways to strengthen yourself and your ability to move. And I'm excited to talk to you about that today, Jae.
Great.
So Jae, a little bit of background on Jae. Jae is the founder of Intelligent Exercise, and her website, as you see on the tent card up here, is www.intelligentexercise.com. This is an organization that serves all those, including caregivers and seniors, who need to be more fit and function better in daily life. And she is a Guild-certified Feldenkrais practitioner. We're going to learn all about the Feldenkrais method here. And an ACE-certified personal trainer. So I could use some personal training, actually. She is taught at Long Island College Hospital, St. Luke's Hospital, Columbia University Medical Center, and the Student Wellness Center, and she is a fitness columnist for the New York Spirit magazine and a member of the International Society for Active Aging. I think this is the first time I've learned about that organization, so I'm very excited about the fact that there's a focus on active aging. So that's it about Jae. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for coming out here today. And well, we're having better weather than we've had in the past few days, 97 with 100% humidity, so thank you.
That was not so easy.
So, the first thing I'm gravitating to is the Feldenkrais method. I've been hearing a lot about this. Can you just jump in there and tell us
Sure.
What is Feldenkrais?
Sure. The Feldenkrais method is a method of movement education. So
Okay.
it's part of what we do. Most of my staff members are Guild-certified Feldenkrais practitioners like myself, as well as certified fitness professionals of one kind or another.
Okay.
The Feldenkrais method is what makes it different from fitness, per se, is that it's about what you know about how to coordinate your whole body together. So rather than helping you stretch or strengthen, it helps you organize yourself to do certain things,
Okay.
whatever it is that you want.
Okay.
It uses the same process that we all use to learn how to move from infancy, and gives us a way of re-engaging in that process, which worked very well for us then. We learned how to stand and walk and run. These are not simple activities, but
Right.
we managed it, and by using that learning process, you can recover abilities that you've lost due to illness or injury, or just a series of habits that develop around bad office ergonomics or other work or school or life situations.
Okay.
And you can also learn to do things that you couldn't do before.
And is this the Feldenkrais method? Is it really geared to seniors more, or people?
It's not. It could be used by anybody who wants to learn anything, pretty much. So there are practitioners who specialize, for instance, in working with infants who are born with disabilities of one kind or another. It works fantastically well for children with cerebral palsy. At the other end of life, we've had many clients with Parkinson's disease, and although of course it can't halt the progress of the disease because it doesn't address the chemical and the brain structure and so forth, things that are going on.
Right.
It does provide tools for developing strategies to preserve function even as the disease progresses.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's actually, and the same thing for MS. It's very, very helpful to people with MS for, again, to be able to have less pain and more ability to function even through the disease. And it's been well studied at this point for helping improve balance in seniors.
Wonderful. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's a big issue. I mean, we've
Huge.
been featuring a lot of articles on fall prevention, and I mean, and you hear about all the issues that happen with falling. With that first fall, it's usually kind of downhill,
Right.
a downhill spiral from there. So, let's talk a little bit,
Right.
about fall prevention. I mean,
Mhm.
so how does this, like, what are some of the methods that are used to help seniors, avoid falling?
Avoid falling. Well, we normally, for seniors who are interested in fall prevention,
Right.
they've come to us after that process has started. They've had their
Right.
first fall, maybe their second and their third, and either they or someone who cares about them is very worried about where this is going.
Right.
And so at that point, since the process has already begun, we need to do a careful evaluation of what are the balance issues specifically that are leading to the falls.
Right.
Because you can usually isolate it's a certain kind of movement,
Right.
Either a sideways shifting movement or bending or turning,
Right.
that has, for some reason, become more difficult to coordinate for the
Okay.
senior. And so we know that if we work on that specific ability, then their vulnerability to falls when doing that kind of movement is going to decrease, that they'll
Right.
be less vulnerable. And then we can also look at the balance is we use a number of different systems in our body for balance. We use the vestibular system, the inner ear.
Right.
We use our eyes. We use our proprioceptive system, which is our ability to feel our own bodies, where our bodies are in space. It's pressure sensors in our joints. So we can check and see which of these systems is not being used enough or well enough. And then
Right.
we can do things to strengthen a person's ability, or that's not quite the right word, to improve a person's ability
Right.
to use that system. And
Interesting.
then that also reduces the vulnerability to falls. And
It's
Yeah,
interesting
go
that you're talking about these different, techniques, because, I've taken yoga and other, types of exercise where, it's all about building the core, and that's where your balance comes from. So this is a little different because, someone who's elderly may not have that strength anymore, and so they have to, I guess, they have to
well,
shift gears a little bit.
Well, these are the the core is talking about the core and working on the core is it's a focus of a lot of enthusiasm
Yeah.
right now
Yeah.
and in
Yeah.
recent years.
Yeah.
Both in
Pilates, too.
that's right, both in a
Right.
fitness context and in a rehabilitation context.
And
but
just for
yeah.
our audience, when we're talking about the core, we're talking about the abdominal area.
Right, or
Right.
so people use different definitions. There are also people
Right.
who would expand that to include also some of the back muscles and the hip
Right.
muscles together. So, but really core in the sense of the center of your body.
Right.
So yes, so that's been, like we've learned a lot about how that works, and it's been a
Right.
great focus in recent years. But physiologically and neurologically, fundamentally, the balance systems are these things.
Right.
The vestibular, the visual, the proprioceptive systems. And in a medical context, physical therapy, that's
Right.
that's the fundamentals of how you balance and core strengthening.
Yeah.
It's a tool,
Yeah.
but you have to find out whether it's the right tool for the person.
Right.
Is that where the problem is?
Right.
And how much strength and you can be strong yet off balance.
Right.
So
Let's talk about one of the major issues I think that seniors have is getting out of a chair. Let's say.
yeah.
And so tell us about why do they have trouble getting out of a chair, and what can they do to help themselves, I guess, build the right coordination skills to get out of a chair.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's actually a strong relationship between the balance issues that we've been talking about and the loss of the ability to get out of a chair. There are also strength issues involved, but usually what happens at the point at which a senior stops being able to do that without assistance, without at least pushing on the arms of the chair or needing help or needing to be pulled,
Right.
is that they have lost track of the fact that you need to lean forward in order to get out of a chair.
Yeah.
And it could be that there's a real fear about falling that has appeared around that time or just before that, because you feel vulnerable to a fall if you're feeling vulnerable anyway.
Right.
When you lean way forward, it feels off balance because when you sit, your weight's on your seat.
Right.
And when you stand, you need to get it to your feet, and your feet are in front of your seat. So you got to make that transition.
Right.
And
you don't think about all these things when
you don't.
when you're fine, but when you're
right.
Yeah.
Right. And then that's the problem, because you never knew that's how you did it to begin with. You don't know that you stopped doing it.
Right.
And maybe the people who are taking care of you also, because they don't know how they get out of seats,
Right.
don't notice that you stopped doing it either.
Right.
And so then you're stuck with trying to push up or levitate vertically, and you can only get so far before you drop back down into your chair.
Right. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So ways that you can work on that is by first just remembering that you need to lean forward. And for some people whose trouble is not that bad, that can just be the difference between it being hard to get out of a chair and it being easy to get out of a chair.
Yeah.
If things are beyond that point, then a caregiver can take your hands and help guide you to lean forward and give you the reassurance that they're there if you lose your balance, and that's enough to help. And then you can also, I have actually created a picture slideshow of ways to work on getting out of a chair.
Sorry we can't demonstrate today,
yes,
but we'll definitely provide a link to Jae's website, where she will have these pictures to demonstrate ways in which so I have I have a slideshow basically of both by yourself and then working with a partner. You can practice getting out of a chair correctly to make it easier. And a lot of people experience a really significant improvement just from this one piece of information, that you need to lean forward and a little bit of practice. Terrific. Now, so what got you interested in the first place, I guess?
Well, it's kind of exactly the surprising nature of this information. Because I'm trained as a Feldenkrais practitioner, and I'm trained to look at how people do things and not only how strong are they.
Right.
I'm very interested in situations where I can see that there's technical information missing, there's coordination information missing, and that nobody's talking about. And just having one little important piece of information could make all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
I want to remind the audience that they can learn more about the Feldenkrais method and about you on your website, www.intelligentexercise.com.
That's right.
And I think this is wonderful because I think it's so easy to forget some of those simple things that we take for granted when we're healthy, but as we get older, I think they can be so beneficial just to remember and help us move better, right? So, Jae, thank you for joining us, and thank you to our audience for joining us today. Please tune in next Friday at 2 o'clock live. Take care.